All right, here we go. Next series up in the YouTube AP exam review is developmental psych. So go ahead and share my screen now with you. All right, so here we go. Developmental psych, number 6 here. It's through the lifespan. It's through a stage like adolescence, for example, infancy, for example. So it's development psych is studying your development across a period of time. Okay, your behavior, personality. It could be your lifespan. It can be really hard to do because that requires 70 some years or whatever. But so we'll look at development as an infant, then as a young child or a toddler, then into adolescence, and then as middle age and adulthood. Okay. Term they brought up, epigenetics, study of how your behavior kind of develops in the environment can play a cause there. Your DNA can play a cause there, but the study of how your behaviors and environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes work. Okay, so let's look at identical twins. How do identical twins sharing DNA, same genetic code there, how do identical twins end up with completely different personalities? Okay, 2 of my best friends in high school were identical twins, and one was our valedictorian, graduated top of our class, and the other one was like number 79. Okay, completely different personalities. One was very introverted, one was very extroverted. Why does one twin have a disorder, maybe like schizophrenia, while the other twin does not? Okay, so why does that happen? Well, epigenetics is kind of why. Okay, so not only does your DNA have a role in personality, behaviors, disorders, stuff like that, but your environment does too. Okay, a couple of the phenotypes versus genotype. Phenotype is the parts of your DNA that we can observe. Okay, so probably like your personalities and tics, disorders that you might have. Okay, and genotype is more the underlying genetic code, your DNA, the genes that you have. What biological psych would be much more interested in. Developmental psych, longitudinal study that is across time. Versus cross-sectional, which would be like different groups. Okay, so developmental psych, let's look at Pleasant Plains High School, developmental psych, following a freshman group and their favorite lunches, across their freshman, their sophomore, their junior, their senior. Did anything change? Okay, what changed? Why did it change? Okay, so that'd be a longitudinal study, taking that freshman group when they come into high school, seeing their favorite lunch, in the cafeteria, and then following it all the way through for the 4 years of high school. And then we can, study some kind of cause and effect relationship there on their favorite lunch. Cross-sectional will be different groups. Okay, so let's study the sophomore group right now. What is their favorite lunch? What do they eat most often? And why is that happening? Versus the senior group. What is their favorite lunch? Do they eat in the cafeteria? Do they choose to eat somewhere else? And then we're comparing the 2 groups together, okay? Or it could be male versus female. Heritability, the extent to which genes or your genetics contributes to your development, okay? Now we're getting back into nature versus nurture. Now, again, almost all modern psychology is going to tell you it's a combination of both nature and nurture, okay? It's how you're raised, it's who you're around, but it's also your DNA. It's also your genetics, what you inherit. So heritability, the extent to which genetics contributes to your development. Brain plasticity, okay? Early childhood is key in development, okay? Your brain is forming, it's growing, it's experiencing so much. Everything is new to you in childhood. So it's really, really key that you try to get a lot of experiences and you try new things, and you're given freedom to explore and play and have an imagination because your brain is evolving, right? And these experiences are helping you learn. The brain's ability to adapt as we learn, the brain's ability to fix itself. We have new experiences, we try new things. Brain plasticity allows us to remember those and kind of implement those into perceptions. Oh yeah, I really like that new baby food I just tried, or I really like this playing on a carpet versus playing on a wood floor or a kitchen laminate floor. Okay, so these new things, our brain is able to evolve and adapt. Learning and new experiences cause new neural pathways, new connections. These new neural pathways, the more we do that, the more we play on the carpet, the more we learn what is hot, what is cold, and that kind of stuff, it strengthens, okay? And the more connections we make, the more we're learning, the smarter we are. Synaptic pruning, if you ever heard the term use it or lose it, that's what this is, what the term's referring to, okay? Neuropathways, which are used infrequently, so neuropathways that are not often used, that are used less and less, they become weaker, okay? And eventually, if you don't use those neuropathways anymore, you don't remember it, okay? Again, going back to use it or lose it. So you've all made neuropathways probably back in the day, I don't know, 4th grade, 5th grade, about states and state capitals, okay? You probably all knew them really, really well. But because you don't use that knowledge anymore, because you don't use those pathways anymore, you have probably forgotten a lot of those state capitals. Not all of them. I'm not going to say you forgot all of them. Some might have made more connections than others, but ones you used to know, you have probably forgotten. It'll be the same with Spanish, right? Use it or lose it. You spent 4 years, some of you, taking Spanish in high school, but 15 years from now, if you haven't continued using that, then you've probably lost that Spanish. Plasticity allows the brain to cope better. Again, the effects of brain damage, you can fix the brain can repair itself. Again, you go back to something like a concussion. That is a brain injury. That is brain damage. But concussions don't have to be long-term. They don't have to be permanent. The brain can fix itself. Now, there's other things, more severe, in which the brain can't just magically in a week fix itself. So brain damage can be permanent, but plasticity does allow for the brain to repair itself. Stuff like I have on there, inadequate blood supply following a stroke. The brain is able to make adaptations. The brain is able to cope with those kind of issues. Get into parenting styles. Pretty basic stuff. We went over it in Intro to Psych. And I think you also probably did it maybe like your freshman, sophomore year in health. But this impacts the child's development. I mean, socially, their personality, their ability to cooperate with others, their confidence in social settings. Parenting styles are very, very key. Authoritative, this is essentially what you want. Your parent has rules, but those rules are fair, okay? And you know ahead of time what those rules are. They talk to you about that, okay? So they have rules, they have fair rules. They explain the reasons for it and the rationale. That way you actually understand and you can make appropriate decisions on your own. They are emotionally receptive to the child, meaning when you need encouragement, they give you encouragement. When you need compassion, when you need forgiveness, they give that to you. When you need consequences, they give that to you, okay? So they are very emotionally receptive to the child. When the child has needs, they meet those needs, and they offer rewards and punishment. They are, if you're behaving a good way, if you have desired behavior, they are rewarding that. They are giving you reinforcement. Okay, so kids can have high self-esteem. They can be socially confident, and they can be independent. They can be self-reliant. Authoritarian, not really what you want. Okay, this is inflexible. They have rules, maybe not fair rules, maybe rules just because they want to have a little bit of power. They enforce the rules at all times, though. They are waiting for you to mess up because they're going to greet you with punishment. They demand obedience at all times. Again, not very flexible there. They're not going to give you a free pass, okay? They're not going to give you exceptions. They're not going to let something slide. And they're also not very emotionally responsive, okay? When you are really struggling, especially with something like punishments and consequences, they're not emotionally responsive to that, okay? They don't really have a lot of sympathy or empathy for you. It's more about just setting rules and enforcing those rules. Okay, you can have low self-esteem. Social situations can be tough for you. You probably are going to be kind of reliant on others because you don't have a lot of self-confidence. Okay, you don't have a lot of initiative. Permissive almost gets to like neglectful, few demands, few expectations, rarely reinforce good behaviors, rarely punish bad behaviors. The child's emotions are kind of in charge. If a kid throws a tantrum, you give them what they want. That's not good for development. Okay, that, to be honest, I mean, that leads to aggressive behavior. If all you have to do is throw a tantrum, if all you have to do is gain attention, whether it's bad attention or not, get your way, that's not good development. Okay, so they're immature, they're impulsive, they're very difficult in social settings. Okay, we probably all know these kids. Edward Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, they did some studies here on child attachment styles. You probably remember this from class, the strange situation where a mother is in a room with the researcher, the psychologist, and then the mother leaves. Okay, how does that infant, how does that child respond when the mother just ups and leaves, and leaves that child with someone they don't know? Okay, so it studies the emotional bonds that child can have with the mother, but also with that stranger in the room. Okay, the positive bonds you create early, that is incredibly important for forming future relationships, for being secure in relationships with others, for having trust with others. Okay, so attachment comes from early connections with other people, bonds formed as a child, in receiving care and trust with mom and dad, or from an older sibling that plays with, a baby sibling. That's important in developing, long term. Researchers, going back to Ainsworth, researchers they observed children between the ages of 12 months and 18 months as they responded to a situation which they were left alone and then reunited. Okay, so their mom is in the room with them. The kid is on the floor playing whatever. Then the mom gets up and walks out. Now that kid is left alone with the researcher. Okay, so how does the child respond when the mother leaves? And then how does the child respond when the mother comes back? Does the child throw a tantrum when the mother leaves because now they're left alone and they don't know who they're with? Does the child even notice? Maybe they don't care. When the mom comes back, is the child happy to see the mom? Does the child take no note of it whatsoever? Or is the child, kind of mad and resentful and avoidant towards the mom because the child is pissed off that the mom left them? Okay, so three that Ainsworth kind of looks at here: anxious, avoidant. So when that happens, that the child doesn't do much. When the mom leaves, there's little response to it. There's little exploration. It doesn't go to the door seeking the mom. It doesn't cry, right? The kid is kind of just emotionless. Okay, no preference for the mother or the stranger. So when the mom returns, the child does not like run to the mom. The child does not greet the mom. The child does not say anything to the mom. Treats the mom just like the stranger, which is kind of disappointing, obviously. So as that child gets older, if that attachment maintains, as that child gets older, they might struggle with trust or seeking help when they should be seeking help. Secure, this is what you want. The children depend on their caregivers. They are secure in their relationship. They show distress when separated, okay, and joy when reunited. Okay, so when that mother leaves, that's your source of compassion. That's your source of nourishment. Okay, that's who you have a secure relationship with. So when that mom leaves, you're upset. Okay, you're distressed. Doesn't mean you're freaking out or anything, but you're upset. Maybe you reach after the mom as she's walking away. Okay, maybe you kind of try to make your way towards the door to see where she went. When she returns, you show joy. But there is confidence that the mom is going to come back. When they do, you're okay. When the child is frightened, securely attached children are comfortable because they know reassurance will be given. Securely attached children are free to explore, to play, to socialize with others. This is very good for long-term development later in life. Resistant. Okay, so little exploration. There's a lot of separation anxiety. This kid is going to fly off the handle when the mom walks out. It's going to be a lot of screaming. The stranger is certainly not going to be able to calm the child down. And when the mom responds, you don't give her a lot of love. You don't give her a lot of compassion. You're not overly joyed to see her because you're pissed at her. Okay, you're resistant to her when she returns. The resistant child is wary of strangers, very distressed when the mother leaves, resentful, even angry when the mom comes back. As a result, when the mom tries to pick him up or comfort him, he's probably going to be upset. Okay, means you're probably going to struggle with relationships, probably going to struggle with trust, and you're probably going to struggle with social confidence. Harlow, remember Harlow had the monkeys, okay? And Harlow took the monkeys at birth, separated the monkeys from their mom right away. Some were put in a cage with cloth-covered monkeys, some with cold wire monkeys, some with both, okay? So if you had both monkeys, both moms, so to speak, one was made of wire and it was covered in warm, comfortable, cozy, fuzzy cloth. The other, but it had no bottle, sorry, by the way. It had no milk, had no nourishment, okay? The other adult monkey was a cold wire monkey, had no cloth on it, just wire, like a hanger. I don't even know if you guys have wire hangers, but like a hanger. but it had a bottle. Okay, it could feed the monkey. So this studies the powerful effects of love on normal development. Because you're essentially deprived of your mom, right? And that's devastating, but you're deprived of your mom. And so you're going to study here basically nourishment with the wire monkey versus compassion, cloth covered monkey, comfort. Okay, so the infant monkeys were separated from their mothers immediately after birth, and they have these two monkeys, right? Harlow found that while the infant monkeys would actually, in fact, very consistently go to the monkey with the bottle, the wire monkey with the bottle, they preferred the cloth mother. Okay, so they would go to that wire monkey with the bottle. They would go to that only for food. Okay, then as soon as they were done, they would go to the cloth monkey. This is overwhelming, across the board with all these monkeys. They would only go to the cold wire monkey for that bottle, for the food. And then they would spend the rest of their time, with the cloth cover, almost like a blanket, but they would cuddle with that. Okay, they would play in front of the cloth covered monkey. Okay, they showed very, very, very little attachment whatsoever out to the wire monkey, except for feeding time. The study demonstrated that maternal bonds were much more about than just nourishment, right? You have other needs than just getting fed. Harlow's it was very sad. A lot of these monkeys had severe emotional and social disturbances. They lacked skills. They weren't unable to play with other monkeys. They were incapable of normal sexual behavior. Okay, they weren't ever taught these things, and they weren't ever reinforced, and they weren't ever given compassion. They weren't ever taught love. Okay, so they really struggled. The isolated monkeys ended up being incapable of taking care of their own offspring once they had offspring. Okay, they neglected and they often abused their young, because that's how they were raised by these two different monkeys. Erikson, to be honest, I would get back into the project that you did. I would get back into the handouts that I gave you on Erikson. Remember, in infant stage, it's really important you build trust, that your parents are secure with you, and that you build trust. Early childhood, you need to learn to make decisions on your own, to play on your own, to have self-confidence. By the time you get into play age, you should have imagination. You should be able to, instead of your parents leading you in different games to play, you should be able to do that on your own. You should be able to play on your own. You can roam the backyard, you can explore, stuff like that. School age, you should have a sense of achievement. You should have a sense of development. You should have a sense of friends, right? That you have friends you can play on. You can stay the night at other people's house. You can be on youth, sports teams and stuff like that. And that you have success. So children need to develop trust to have their needs met, which then they can have self-control and decision-making autonomy, which then they can direct their own activities and explore initiative. And then they can develop a sense of mastery and achievement, which is competence. Okay, so those are kind of the 4 early stages of development. Getting to Piaget, again, go back into the Piaget stuff. He's got all his stages of development there, kind of 4 that we look at. But you get back into that handout that I gave you. So yeah, he's all about schemas and mental sets, organization and adaptation to new environments and schemas. That's how we learn. Okay, we explore. New things are put in front of us as kids. New songs, new story time, new people in our lives, and that we need schemas in order to learn, to figure this stuff out. So the schemas and mental sets are what allow us to learn, to perceive, to interpret the world around us. There's a couple that I have on. You make sure you know these: schema assimilation, schema accommodation. Let's go with schema assimilation first. When you take new information that you experience for the first time, and you plug it into old existing information, existing schemas that you have. Okay, so you have been taught what a dog is. All right, you have a dog, right? You've got a pet dog. You're a youngster. Your parents have always had this dog, so you know what a dog is, right? And maybe your favorite little kid book is a dog. Maybe your favorite little show is Paw Patrol or something. Okay, so you know what a dog is. Well, then you come across a horse for the first time. Maybe you see it on TV. Maybe it's in a book. Maybe it's as you're driving in the car. Okay, you see this horse. And because it has 4 legs, and because it has a tail, and because it has eyes like a dog, you think it's a dog. Okay, it might be bigger than a dog, but you don't make sense of that because you've never seen it before. So scheme assimilation is when you take this new information, like a horse, and you plug it into existing information, like what you know about a dog, and you think the horse is a dog. Now that's lower level, okay? As we develop, we have schema accommodation. That is changing our existing schemas, our existing beliefs in light of new information that we've learned, okay? So instead of thinking a fox is a dog, you learn there's other animals out there with 4 legs and tails and eyeballs and a nose and whatever. You learn there's other ones out there. And so now you learn, well, fox has a bushier tail, and foxes are typically an orangish color or whatever. And so you make that distinction. Same thing with coyotes. And again, cats have 4 legs, cats have eyes, cats have a nose, cats have a tail, but they have whiskers, right? And so now you know there's a difference between dogs and foxes and cats. His 4 stages are sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational. It takes you basically into adolescence. Sensory motor, kids are learning. Kids are developing schemas through their senses, okay? What they can see, what they can smell, what they can touch, so on and so forth. Everything is brand new to them, okay? That's why you might see kids pick up things and put it in their mouth, okay? In the sensory motor skill, because they're breastfed, okay? And then they're given a pacifier, okay? So now they take the remote to the TV and they put it in their mouth because that's what they've been taught, okay? Pre-operational ages 2 to 7. Again, now we're developing more schemas. We're adapting, right? We're learning that certain things have multiple uses, but we're all about ourselves, egocentric, right? And we need to be given playtime, and we need to develop a sense of imagination, and we need to be able to share to become less egocentric. Concrete operational schemas develop a little higher now. We're talking about math. We're talking about numbers. We're talking about logic and reasoning, that we understand why things happen. Shapes, sizes, weights, differences, patterns. That's all tough, right? To put all of these items based on color, to separate items based on shape, to separate items highest to lowest based on how much they weigh, to notice patterns and to be able to create your own patterns. Formal operational. Again, now you're getting in middle school here, abstract thinking and problem solving and higher order thinking. Instead of answering questions like, what is the capital of Springfield? Answering questions, why is Springfield the capital? Okay, and being able to understand it's because it's centrally located in the state. Hypothetical questions and stuff like that. Creative problem solving. How about this? Being able to create or answer problems in your head rather than having to do it on paper or to trace something or to use your fingers to count, stuff like that. So being able to finish things in your head rather than having to learn or use hands-on tools. Kohlberg was all about moral development. We started off very selfish in life, very egocentric. And then maybe we start doing things because we don't want to be punished, not because we care about other people, not because we care about doing the right thing, but selfishly, we don't want to get spanked. And that's why we do it, okay? So we learn right from wrong, and then we learn moral versus immoral. I shouldn't do something because it's just wrong, not because I'm going to get punished, but because it's going to hurt somebody else's feelings, okay? And then legal versus illegal, right? There's a lot of temptation, but we can't do certain things because it's illegal. And not just because I'm going to get thrown into jail, but because it's property damage, because it's not good for society. Okay, so we learn consequences, and we also learn the whys, why we shouldn't be doing something. At the end of it, at the end of Kohlberg, and Kohlberg has several stages, and each stage has like multiple parts. But we develop, by the end of this, we develop into doing what's best for society, not just what's best for us. Sometimes we have to give up what we want, what we prefer to do, because we know it's not right for society. Okay, we know it's not in the best interest of all the others around us. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too long. I know it probably was. But hopefully that wasn't too long. Again, go back into your project, go back over your, the slides you made, the videos you made, and then the 2 handouts I gave you on Erikson and Piaget, go back into those as well. All right.